Hola, amigos! So I've got these awesome cabinets behind me, and they need a little bit of work. So I got them, don't worry about where I got them. It was like one of those, again, don't worry about it. I've cleaned them up a little bit. They were quite a bit dirtier than they are now, but the shelving leaves a little bit to be desired. See, each one has one shelf in place. There's another shelf right there that doesn't have any place to go because you can see you need shelf clips. I've bought shelf clips. They were frustratingly expensive. I would think shelf clips, these little like pop-in shelf clips, $5 for a pack of, I don't know, a million. A 5-pack for like 50. No, I paid $8 for a pack of 20. That is ridiculous. That is crazy. That is highway robbery. Did I pay it? Yes, I did, because I need these shelf clips, and I labored long and tiringly and couldn't find them. So I just bought them. I just did it because I want these things working. So here's the next thing. For these shelves, I could cut a piece. I want 3 shelves per cabinet. You can see I've already put some of my car stuff in here. Hey, these shelves would be great for my car stuff. It's in the garage with my car stuff. Perfect. I could cut plywood and use that on my shelf clips, but it's not going to look right. It's going to look like somebody hacked it together. I want it looking legit. I want metal shelves. And what these are, it's just your standard, it's metal, bent on each side, bent, basically 4 times. I want that look. I want metal shelves bent like that. And I want, 3 in each one. So this one actually uses the shelf clips. I've got 2 extra shelf clips there. This one, they just screwed in through the shelf, through the side of the cabinet on each side, 2 screws each side. I'm probably going to make that shelf clips just so it's a little bit more flexible. I like the flexibility of these shelf clips where I can move these things up and down because right now, I don't have a ton of stuff to put in them, but I'm working on it. They're going to be piling up soon, and I just want 3 per. I think that'd be good. I mean, this one, I probably could raise this up a little bit, but I'm thinking about a foot spacing in between, and then the lower one would be, that'd put about 16 to 18 inches. That's perfect. I think I'd want the lower one a little bit higher. Again, don't quite know how I'm putting these things, but I'm working on that. I've got 3 shelves. I want 6, so I need to make 3 more. And again, I want to do it in metal. I want it to look legit, like it came from the factory. I don't want it looking like a hack job with plywood. So I've got a reserve of metal. I keep scrap metal, for things like this. Like I've been keeping this scrap metal in one day, the hopes that I would have a need for it. The need is present itself. It's right there. So I'm going to go through my metal, see what I've got, figure out the gauge, see if I have something that's working. I mean, I think whatever I have will probably be fine. I mean, this just seems like a very common thickness of metal. Like, let's look. Can I just eyeball it and figure out thickness of metal? Yeah, it seems pretty common. I don't know. So I'm going to see what I got. Where are my shelf clips? Here are my shelf clips. Look at those things. They just pop right in. It's great. I think this is 20. Does it say on there? Because, yes, 20. And so that's perfect because I have 6 right now. So 20, 6. That is 6 shelves, which is all I want. I'll have 2 extras in case I lose one. Boom, I've got it. That's perfect. So it worked out. I think I paid $7 something for this. I really want to get 5 or under. Couldn't do it. It's unfortunate. I was putting clips in for this second shelf. Look at that. It looks, that's beautiful. Works great. It's sturdy. I'd jump on it if I could, but I'm not that tall, so it wouldn't work. But I put one of these in, and then I got it, of course, like 1 notch low. So I was turning it a bit higher. As I was taking it out, it fell. And I don't know where it went. Like, I'm looking all around. I don't see it. I mean, I heard it fall, but I'm looking all around here. Where did it go? I've already lost one. I only had 2 spare. Now, I only got 1 spare. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking all around. Where could it have gone? You think? Certainly. It's got to be in the bottom of this thing. I don't know. I mean, there's some stuff in here. I cleaned out the shelves, or the upper shelf, and not cleaned out the bottom. I'm like, what is all that? That's a lot of stuff. I don't know if this bottom shelf unscrews. I think it's probably welded in. But yeah, I probably need to vacuum that up. I mean, there's a washer in there. That could be useful. But where did this clip go? I mean, seriously, it was right there. Then it was gone. I am stupefied. I just don't know. I mean, I'm looking around. It couldn't have gone far. But where could it have gone? But I love that. Like, I love this thing already. That shelf right there. I love it. But I've already lost a shelf. And that's unfortunate. Like, I do have 2 spares. And I'm down to 1 spare. I lost 1 within 2 minutes of opening the bag. That does not bode well for retaining more. Like, seriously, where is it? Is it over here? I don't see it anywhere. This is a real mystery. Need to get the Scooby Gang on this. Yeah, it was right. Let's see, it's right there. There's a different one. This is not the one. I'm not that simple. I didn't lose it that easy, but I just took it down. It fell. Oh, you know what? There it is. It fell right in that gap. Well, you know what? I'm glad I was videoing this. I was looking. I was like, oh, there's a gap. That's where it is. So let me get that out of there. Back to 2 spares still. I'm taking out the screws that hold this shelf down here together. Now there was a random screw just in, like right in here in the side. And I wonder if these things, I mean, you can tell they kind of match, like the way they curved it. It looks like maybe they bolt together. There are a lot of holes here. Would there have been, what, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 11. No, there's a lot of holes here. Well, these things have bolted together. I mean, it looks like something went here, some kind of bracket. These rings were made to butt together. I mean, you look at them, like the way that comes together, that straight edge, curved straight edge, the outside is completely radius corner. They're meant to go together. So I don't quite know how that works. Do I want to bolt them together? I don't know. I mean, it'd be kind of nice. At the same time, I've been moving them around a little bit. It makes it convenient when they're not bolted together. That'd be something to think about, because I could bolt them together, maybe just a little bit, just for a little bit of rigidity so they're not wobbling. My scrap metal, I thought I had some. I was like, oh man, that looks like it might be the right depth, but it's got this little recess. I think this might have gone on the front of a dryer or washing machine or something. I don't know. Almost part of it, but I don't need this recess. It's not going to help me. It's just going to be a nuisance where things slide down it or fall into it. So the crucial part of this is to measure the shelf. Like, how big is this thing? And you got to account for the lip around it. So the nominal dimension is 25.5, 11.75 inch lip. So what I need is a piece of steel that is 27 by 12.5. That way that will account for folding over the lip, because the lip is on all 4 sides. So do I have something like that? That is the question. So this is my rolling wood cart. I built this thing. Awesome way to keep organized. And kind of my rule is, like, I've got so much wood. You know, I've got all this plywood, all these little pieces. My rule is, if it no longer fits in one of the cubbies, toss it. You know, you got to start tossing stuff. That way, I don't get an influx of wood or I have too much wood. Yeah, all my beater blocks in the bottom. Those are great to have. Like MDF, plywood. It's got to fit in the car. Once it starts fitting in the car, you toss it. So this is like my larger sheets. I've got some project laid plywood that, you know, I'm always using plywood. I've not done a lot with it lately. I got some of this stuff. Like, you think that, why not just toss it? You can see it's muddy and dirty. It's been really useful for muddy and dirty jobs where I need to, like, put something on the ground to walk on, to clean stuff up. So I feel like I can't get rid of it because I have used it. But then, oh, got some metal. Is that metal? That is metal. These are good. You know, I think these came out of like a dishwasher or something. You know, like a good flat piece of metal like this, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. What did I do with my ruler? I just had it. Alright, let's hope this is the right size. That'd be great. Man, it's 23. I think I need it bigger than that. And it is 17.5. Yeah, that's 23. 23.5 ain't gonna work. What did I need? 26. This is what I love having, like, my workbench. I've got paper on it. This, I got paper on it. Because that way I can just write stuff down, see it. I need 27, and this is only 23.5. That is unfortunate. Because this would have been perfect. It's already painted. See, that's brown, that's white. Would have been perfect. Do I have any more metal? You know what, this, ooh, here's some metal. That's pretty thick though, pretty beefy. Oh, there's some metal right there. Let's see what we got. Yeah, you can see this thing's been through some better days, but do we have enough size in it? We could get 28 out of it, but I've got this little cutout. I don't know what I use that for. Was it 11? I got 12 on it. What do I need? I need 12.5. About 12.5 before this cutout. I got 13. Now the question after this is, will I be able to bend this? When this, it's kind of on the thick side. But right here, and it's already painted white, that's a bonus. I think that'll clean up, probably. Who knows what it is. I think that'll work. I mean, definitely I got the size, and it's just a matter of, can I bend that? I have a metal brake that I built for things like this. Now, it's not super heavy duty. I built it myself, so it's limited. And this metal might be on the upper end of what it can do. If the metal brake doesn't work, here's a quick and dirty trick you can do. And I've done this before to great effect. Clamp 2 pieces of plywood on each side of the metal along your line you want to bend. 2 pieces of 2x4 on top of that, just for the rigidity of it. And use another 2x4 on top of that lip, and just hammer it. Hammer it down, and it will work. I've done that plenty of times when times are tough. I'm gonna see if my metal brake will do it. I think my metal brake is, I think I got 3-foot throat. I made it pretty large. I'm hoping it'll do this. If not, that's okay. Then the other trick is, once you bend the front and back side, well, then you got to fit it with between those 2 edges. Like, I don't have a compound brake, so either way I'm gonna have to use some 2x4 and hammer work. That's okay. I can do that. I like for the brake to do something, but if not, we can do it. And what I'll do, once I bend the long sides, I will cut a 2x4 to fit in between them so I can bend the other two sides. Let's see, and I got 2 larger sheets, so I need what? 3 shelves? I got 1 right here. I might have 2 out of that next piece. Let's see. All right, so this piece definitely big enough to get 2 out of it. It is 33 by 24. I only need 27 by, with 2 of them, it'd be 22. So I got some extra space. I need to figure out, I need to look at what I have that'll cut this, because this edge is not bad. It'd be nice to file it down just because it is slightly sharp. Not terribly sharp, but slightly sharp. This is just dirty. There's no rust, which is good. Well, I suppose you're saying there's a little bit of rust there. Well, it's just a little bit of surface. I can sand that down, maybe give it a quick spray job will work. The whole thing's already white, so I might just roll with it. But I've got my 3 shelves right here, and all this came, I think I have a dryer. Instead of just toss my whole dryer, kit and caboodle, I cut the sides off, and I knew one day I'd use them. And here I am, one day, I'm using them. I love a project where I can reuse some stuff I've been saving, because like metal gets expensive. I mean, I've used metal before, and you know, you gotta pay. If I get it for cheap, when I had this, like why scrap it when I can use it? So I've got 3 shelves here. I want 3 shelves here. We are all set. Now I just need to figure out the best way to cut it. I mean, I've got a cutoff wheel. I've got an air saw. May do some practice cuts and see, you know, which one seems like it does the smoothest. That way they'll prevent me from having to do a bunch of filing, because I want a nice flat edge. Like this edge is a little rough. I mean, it's freshly cut. I don't know where I don't. That Sawzall? I don't think so. It's possible. That's just a little rough. A little filing will do that right. But I've got my metal. So now I just need to make my measurements, cut these things out. I've got a little bit of leeway, and if I cut it wrong, I can work on that. Man, my shop is a mess. I've got a headliner project over there that I'm waiting for the headliner material. I've got these bumpers I need to paint. The bumper's not painted because I've not installed my water trap air dryer system. I need to figure that out, and really was the holdup. I just haven't sat down to look at it. All these cool parts. It's going to be an awesome system. It's going to give the time for the air to expand, cool down, water to drop out, because I need to use this air dryer system to paint these bumpers. I don't want any moisture in the paint. That's going to screw up my paint. And man, it's just, yeah. And really, it should have been done by now. It could have been done by now. I've been dragging my feet because I'm like, oh, while I'm waiting for these parts to come in, I'll start on the Honda Pilot. Well, then start on the Honda Pilot, and this has been to the wayside. And then like now, I'm working on these cabinets and shelves because, you know, it's like, hey, look, new, shiny. And that is the problem. But this I can finish relatively quickly, and then I'll have one fewer excuse as to why I'm not doing anything I should be doing. So just to help you figure out if you're trying to cut metal and you want to know what should I use. So this line right here was done with a reciprocating air saw. It looks a lot like this because that's what I used. And you do need an air compressor, and it uses a lot of air. You need a rather large tank. I've got a, what was it, 30 gallon? Yeah, I got a 30 gallon tank right there from Old Husky. Works pretty well for that. A smoother cut, you know, less burring, less edges. It is a little bit slower than if you were to use something like an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel, which would look like this. Now, this goes a lot quicker, way quicker, but it is, you can see it's a much rougher line, just cuts a little rougher. Now I can go back, I can file that, I could work on that. Funny enough, I did do the cutoff wheel. I actually cut that straighter than my air saw, but that's really just a lighting issue and paying attention type issue. I think for what I want, I probably want the reciprocating saw. Yeah, it's going to take longer, but it's a nicer cut. Then again, though, I cut that fairly straight. Fairly straight. Now I'm going to probably do like a tape line, maybe to help guide myself, then file it down, sand it down as needed with something a little rough. Because the speed is kind of tempting. I mean, this cutoff wheel, it cut quickly. I'll think about that. You know what? I'm going to call it, we're going to reciprocating saw. Let's be a little cleaner, a little bit neater. A fairly straight cut. You can see I got a little off right in there. Nothing the file won't take care of. Fairly smooth cut. It's really not that sharp. Again, you should file it. But it gives me a nice straight edge to base everything off of. I think it was 11 inches across. So I can just measure 11 inches over, cut the length, then cut it to, or cut the width, cut it to length. Probably straighten this side, because I must have cut this either like a hacksaw or cutoff wheel just to get it done quickly, because I was cutting the dryer up, didn't really care at the time. Now it matters a little bit more, so I'm paying a little bit more attention to it. But I mean, that's a fairly nice cut. You almost get it like that, but I'm not, just because it's a little sharp. But let's cut it to length, and we are ready to go. I'll double check my measurements, because I'm not going to base off my memory, because, you know, my memory is not faulty. It's not meant to remember numbers, but nice cut, man. All in all, this thing's working great. Now, a little note, wear some safety gear. I wear a full face shield. I don't want anything thrown off, hit me in the face. I wear earmuffs because the air compressor is loud. I like my hearing. I prefer to keep it for as long as possible. Do these things. Be safe. So I need to test my metal brake and see how it works with this metal. I've got some scrap metal. I've got 2 pieces of this I just cut, I cut off for my shelf. I don't use metal break enough to know how it works, how it should work, how much do I need a lot for the radius or anything. I really like my metal brake. I made it. It's awesome. Let's play with it and see what happens. I'm going to show you my metal brake because it is. I'm telling you it's awesome. I'm going to show you why it's awesome. Here it is. I just assembled it out of probably just scrap I had. These are door hinges. And I'd seen a few before, but I wanted mine to do some specific things. So here's what I set up to do. These angles, these bolts go in and out, kind of lets you set, your thickness of metal. I mean, I'm going to tell you my assumptions on how I think this should work, and we'll see if that's how it actually works. But, you need a lot for your thickness of metal, so when you bend this up, if you don't have a thickness of metal allotted, well, it's not going to be able to bend. I do have springs in here so that when you clamp the metal down, well, when you unscrew these, you see, pops right back up. That way you can pull your metal out. I'm going to check the thickness of metal versus, how far in this is set. I have a little bit of adjustment there. And then it should be that once that's set, move that, you will take these handles, you'll bend this up, and it's designed to go a little bit farther than 90 just because, you bend metal, it wants to kind of bounce back. So you bend a little farther, hopefully it bends back, and it bends back where I want it. So I got 2 scrap pieces. If these don't work out the way I want them to, I'll probably cut some more, because I want to make sure I get this right. And again, these little pieces are going to be a lot easier to bend than one that's 27 inches long. So there's that as well. Oh, actually, I forgot. I need to cut the corners out, because when you bend this, if I bend this entire thing, I guess I cut it out after the fact. We're going to bend this down and this down, so when it comes together, you don't need this corner. So I need to cut that corner out before I do this. So I've got my little piece of metal here. I've got it clamped down. I made sure everything is spaced correctly, so we're going to see how well this does, because this is a precursor to how this whole shelf's going to go. Bounce back a little bit further. Kind of eyeballing that. That looks straight, I think. Man, that's pretty easy. I thought there might be some resistance or anything, but I guess this is rather thin gauge. This is one thing I love about my metal brake that I didn't see nobody done with their DIYs was I put springs in there so it pops up, so it makes it very easy to move the metal. Oh. Thought I hit 90, went a little further than 90. But pretty nice tight radius, man. That looks, all the paint's chipping off. The metal's never meant to bend. But yeah, I went too far. It really looked like 90. Already it's pretty tight. What is the depth? Wow, yeah. I think this is viable. I just need to cut out my corners from my shelf. Dang, I can't believe I went farther than 90. I need to... Eyeballing that did not help me very much. Maybe I should just go 90, stop, and double check. Yeah, I just went a bit too far. But, first test was successful. I wonder if there's a way, like a stop, where I could have a stop on this at 90. But then again, like metal bounces back. But it did chip all the paint on the edge. Understandable, you're stretching the metal, paint's gonna chip. I think I need to use my second piece. This one worked out beautifully. SD San Diego. Now, if you're wondering, like, what team is your favorite team? If you've noticed, I'm wearing different team shirts. I just love baseball in general. I love logos in general. The Atlanta Braves would be my team, but if I was going NL West, had to pick the Padres. They're supposed to be really exciting. Not so much this year. That's unfortunate. My AL team? Well, let's see. NL East, Atlanta Braves. NL West, Padres. NL Central. It's kind of tough. I mean, Cardinals, I feel like that's a little bandwagon. Maybe Pirates. Brewers, Brewers when they had Yelly and he was at his peak. That was fun. Who else in the Central? What, Cardinals? Cardinals, Pirates, Cubs, Brewers. We're missing one. Yeah, I don't know. Probably Pirates. Overall, NL, Atlanta Braves. AL West, I gotta go Seattle, even though I really do like the Angels. And Seattle because of King Griffey Jr. I mean, that was when I was into it. But Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, fortunate year they're having. Let's see, AL East. Oh my gosh, not the Yankees. I mean, I'm against the Yankees from the 90s and the Braves and the World Series. Not really Boston. I mean, I like the Blue Jays, but dang, Braves lost to the Blue Jays too. Tampa Bay Rays, not Rays. I guess it had to be the Blue Jays for my AL East team. AL Central's a tough one. I mean, Cleveland, yeah, World Series matchup with the Braves, so there's some memory there. I always like the Chicago White Sox. Love their black and white. I mean, I'm a logo fan. I guess that's why the Brewers may be my NL Central team. The same Pirates, but you know what? I love the Brewers. Their old school logo. It's money. Let's see. Who do we have? AL West. Oh, I did AL West. I did AL Central. I did AL East. Overall AL team? I don't really have one. Alright, let's get back to work. I've digressed enough. I think we're set. Let me cut out those corners and I will measure that. Alright, so a few lessons learned on doing a larger piece. It came out relatively well. I don't know if it quite captured on camera. It's a little, not quite as tight in the middle. Economies of scale, doing a larger piece. You know, as tight as all this is clamped down, the fact that all this is steel, that's still a lot of force to do a piece that big. And bow a little bit in the middle. At first I was going to do the shorter side, bring the shorter side up. That was no-go. Had to do the larger side, bend that up. All in all, it's not bad. I may come back with maybe like a hammer or some pliers, or maybe some like wood, kind of just beat on it a little bit. Because let's see, I can might see it this angle. You can see, you know, it's kind of it's bowing up a little bit right here. It's nice tight outside, not bad. Would I use it and be proud to put it in my cabinet? Oh, for sure, definitely put it in the cabinet. But I do want to tighten up that middle, because right in the middle is just not quite as right as. But overall, pretty pleased with it. Metal brake did well. You know, I haven't used it much. I don't know the best way to get this middle a bit tighter. It might just be getting like a block of wood, kind of just hammering on a little bit. Because it doesn't need to move very far, just a little bit. I think just like a 2x4 and a hammer should do it. Once you put this thing in the cabinet, I'm not really going to look at how these shelves were made. But if you open the door and you see plywood as opposed to metal, you're going to know right off. With this, you know, the radiuses might not be quite as tight, it may not be quite as perfect, but I'm going to like it. I've done it myself, so I have a little bit of pride in it. And it's going to blend in one. Like this dirty old piece of metal, can you see that? Yeah, see, it's already dirty, so look right at home. I'm not done, so I don't want to speak too soon. Hadn't been a bad project, and this thing, it's going to be cool. I have a lot of these longer projects that just seem to drag on, and the longer they drag, the more you just get a little stir crazy, you want to do something else. So it's nice to have some of these quicker projects you can knock out in basically a weekend like this. I'm doing a little bit of time during the week. It's nice to have these projects you can knock out in a weekend, and then boom, it's done. Like, these cabinets are going to be awesome. Like, I've just been wondering, like, when I do these things. I know I want to do something with them, but what do I want to do with them? And now I figured it out. So there's a little bit of bow to this. What I'm doing, I've got my brake just clamped to my table, and I'm just putting this against the brake. I'll show you. A picture worth 1,000 words. And I've got a block. I've got a 3-pound mallet. When you want to get something done quickly, mallet's the way to do it. And I'm just putting this block along the front of it, hitting it with the mallet to try to straighten this out. Is it an inexact science? Yes, it is. Is it good enough for my purposes? Yes, it is. So just looking pretty straight. I'm just kind of eyeballing it, looking at it, hitting it, looking at it. I just want it to look relatively 90 degree. And it's looking relatively 90 degree. And so the downside is, you know, I can't get these in the brake. When you put this in the brake, you put it in, and you can't bend it up because of the side pieces. So I'm going to have to do something very similar to this mallet deal, except I'm going to cut a block of wood, the exact width of this, put it in here, and then I guess bend it up. Yeah, I'll probably have it like this, block clamped in here, and then just a 2x4, the length of this or wider, and just hitting the whole thing down, and it'll bend over it and make sure it's clamped in really well so things don't slide around. Sometimes like, you go look at the shelf. Notice how it's flexing? As soon as you bend these sides up, it won't flex. Those act too sturdy. That's why if you ever to pull up the carpet of your car, there's all kinds of grooves and beads rolled into it. Those provide structure, or they make it more rigid, prevent it flex. So once you bend these sides on this, it's no longer going to want to flex, because those sides are going to act like right here, like my hand would flex. You bend it down, you just can't flex. It locks it in. Second, I might need to cut my corners out wider. Don't think so. Probably not going to believe me. First cut. Look at that precision. It's beautiful. It's amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'll clamp this piece in very tightly on each side. You know, keep it where I want it. Then I'll use a larger 2x4. I mean, I could use a piece of plywood, but it's going to be thin. Chance it's going to break. Bigger 2x4, hit it harder with the Mr. Mallet. And we're just going to bend this down, and very much same thing. And just to give you a good look at how I kind of straightened out these long edges, since they were a little off, I did it just like this, because these are things you need to know. block of wood, not 2x4, funny enough, you know, I'm telling you it's 2x4. I just hammered along like this. I knew it was bowed a little bit in the middle, so I started in the middle. And of course the radius is not as tight, can't do any of that. Some of these sides, you know, the outside edge, a little bowed, straighten that up, just hit with the hammer, kind of looking at it, hit with the hammer, back and forth. That's the way you do it. So I want to note this for me, if I ever do this in the future, just to find a better way. So first, I'd clamped a block to the back side of the bend or the fold, trying to get it folded, and using a hammer and a block there to do it. Did not have much luck with that. Thing was jumping all over the table. It was not working right. So I created, like, basically this is a mini break. Just clamp the wood right on, it's right in the line where I want it. Using these clamps as a kind of lever to, or fulcrum? I don't know, man. Physical science was a long time ago. Using that to bend it over, that is working well. I've bent it about 30 degrees, but this has been so much easier. When I had it clamped, flipped over, clamped down to the table, trying to like hit it with a hammer, a block on it, it just bouncing around. It wasn't working. This seems to be working well. I'm going to complete the bend. You know what? I'm sure you want to stick around for that, so let's do it. So my clamp is slipping right here, causing it to hit, so I can't quite get my 90 because, you know, you hit it and it wants to spring back. See if we can try that one more time. But it's close. Probably hammer out the rest of it at this point. Pretty close. That clamp's want to slip. I think that might be it. That actually came out pretty well. This method worked a lot better trying to hammer it. You can never have too many clamps with that right now. Yeah. I mean, you can tell the radius is very round. Much rounder than anything else. But, it's not that bad. The other side of these videos is, I may not remember how I did this. Or I may go through all these follies before remembering, oh yeah, I did it this way. Well now, if I ever do this in the future, I've got this video to go back to. And I can say, oh, that's how I did it. I can skip all these steps of mistakes and wasting my time. I'm like, oh, how did I do it? And I've gone back. I've gone back to my own videos before to see, how did I do this? I think this is how I did it. Let me look, double check. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that one piece. Just makes things easy. I'm always about making it easy, saving some time. So the real test is, how does it fit? How does it look? I'll be honest, it fits a little bit tighter. I think that's just because, you know, there's some bow in my shelves. But it's solid. It looks good in there. I mean, if you were to open this cabinet door, you'd have to look pretty close to realize that these radiuses aren't quite as tight as the other ones. And, you know, not quite as finished, but all in all, man, it looks good. It looks exactly how I want. Because if this was a piece of plywood, you'd be like, oh yeah, you know, you lost a shelf or you need a shelf and you didn't have it. It's going to be telling very quickly. This, you'd open this, if you didn't know right off, you'd think it came like that. You'd think it's part of it. You got to look close. You can see these radiuses, very tight. That's what, you know, a machining and a press and a lot of tools I don't have can do. You look at this, you can see, that radius is a little bit bigger. Yeah, a little bit of a tight fit. I think some of that, if I just were to bend this in a little bit, would do it. When it's in, it's solid. Do you feel a little bit like a bow there? Do these have a bow? Yeah, they've got bow too. Mine's not all that much different. Yeah. Yeah, my dirty, drier scrap metal blends in here well. I mean, look at that thing. That cabinet, that is exactly what I wanted. Got my 3 shelves. Just need to make 2 more for the other side. And we're in business. Yeah, look at it. Need more shelves. Got it. I started this project. I wanted to do metal shelves. I was reasonably confident I could do metal shelves, but it's still nice, it's still rewarding to see it happen, to see it come to fruition. The metal shelves in there. Is it perfect? No. Is it as good as I can do? Yeah, pretty much. Probably. I mean, can I do a little bit better? Maybe a little bit. Nice to see this come together. Got a bunch more storage. What am I going to put here? I don't know, but I will figure it out, because when you have storage, you always find a way to fill it up. We've got another shelf done. Look at this. The paint is really peeling off the corners of this one. I don't know. I mean, my radiuses don't seem that much larger. Could just be a paint adherence issue. I don't know, but that paint is flaking off like crazy. Whereas first when it cracked a little bit, but it just, this is, I mean, look at that. It's all the way off that end. Overall, I'm happy with how this one turned out as well. I mean, it's more the same. Always good. I was thinking I could get 2 shelves out of this other panel. A little off. I need 12 and a half inches wide for each one. So I need 25 inches out of that panel. That panel's only 24 inches. And if you trim it up, square the edges, a little less than 24. So, man, if I could get 2 out of that one, I cannot. But I still have yet another piece of scrap metal. So I will use that. One key thing on the metal brake is making sure I get these wing nuts tight. I employed the use of a wrench because the tighter you can get them, the better this radius is going to be. But you can see at the edges, pretty nice radius, but it gets wider and wider right in the middle. And I don't know if that's a factor. I mean, I don't think it's this angle bowing, with the shape of it, it shouldn't be. Is it this, bending angle? Is that bowing? I don't know. Something's going on. And I don't know if it's just the fact that I got a handle on each end and no handle in the middle, and just there's a little bit of bow in the middle here. I don't know. I need to investigate that a little bit more. You can clearly see that end gets nice and tight. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, pretty big in the middle, and then goes back to tight. I don't quite know. If I could keep that radius along the edge, that's really sharp looking. It just gets really wide along here. I don't know. I'm gonna have to pay attention to that. Something's going on. I mean, you can tell it's bowing. I just don't know what part is bowing. So I think flex is coming in the hinges. It's my radiuses are tighter at the edges because that's where my hinges are. And I think you get to the middle, I think it's a hinge issue. I think it's just a little bit of bow there, which makes sense. And that's why, let's see. Here's my most recent one. You see, edge gets higher, it just gets a little bit wider right in the middle. I think that's just the hinges bowing. I think that's my culprit. I don't know how I'd fix that with this DIY setup. Probably an industrial metal brake probably has like some kind of ball bearing hinges that don't have as much flex to them. But that's what's going on. There's just a little bit of movement right here as you're putting all that force on it. There it is. There are my cabinets. 3 shelves each. Plenty of storage. Yeah, is that where I need the shelves? I don't know. I may have to adjust that later because I got a lot of room on the bottom. And I don't know what I'm going to put on any of these shelves. I've filled up one shelf. What's going to go on the rest of them? I don't know. But I like it. If you look close, you can tell the 3 shelves I made. That one, that one, that one. You can tell because the radiuses just aren't quite as crisp. If you just open this and look at it quickly, once this thing gets filled up, you're not going to know. It looks original, and that was my goal. From the beginning of this project, I wanted these cabinets to look as original as I could get them. And I like that. I like what I did. Yeah, you can tell I made these shelves. I really couldn't have done any better unless I had some fancy tools. I don't. I was using what I have. And even if I didn't have a metal brake that I'd made myself for pennies on the dollar, I could have used some plywood, some 2x4s, clamped those together, and kind of done the same thing I did in the short end, just 2x4s on the long end. It is achievable. You can do it yourself with minimal tools. And I really like how these things came out. Now, this thing looks original. That was my goal. We achieved it. Fun project. Now I get to fill these cabinets up, and that is always the best part. Maybe I need to go buy some tools. I don't know. I might have to figure it out. I'm sure I need some tools to complete this project, right? So I was curious about Bear Manufacturing Company, Rock Island, Illinois, because I'm curious about these cabinets. Like, you look at them, you look at this trim. That is atypical. That is a bauble you would not see on modern day cabinets. The way the amount of care is put in this. Like, nowadays, cabinets would be square, no radius to edges, no trim, very simple. Was that the Bear Manufacturing Company, they started around the late 1910s, 1920s. As 2 brothers, they developed an electric starter for the Model T Ford. Henry Ford liked it so much, he made it standard equipment. These brothers, they started manufacturing all kinds of equipment and tools for automotive work. They opened a school in the 1920s that thrived in the 1930s and 40s after people got back from World War II. Like, everybody's going to this school to learn how to work on cars and use the equipment that the Bear Manufacturing Company made. That school was going, I think they opened a larger school maybe in the 50s, I think. That school shut down in the 70s, and then in the 80s, Bear Manufacturing Company was sold, and it sold a couple times. Bear Manufacturing is no longer made. Their mascot was a big bear. Apparently the Grateful Dead actually used that mascot without permission. The company never went after them. But with all that said, if the school shut down in the 70s and the company was sold and stopped, and Bear Manufacturing Company stopped seemingly in the early 80s, I was seeing these cabinets from the 70s. It seems that might be the case. They could even be earlier. I mean, who knows? I was trying to find if there's some kind of catalog or anything that would tell me what the company made. No luck. I mean, I found some flyers on eBay. That's it. Just flyers about, like, getting your car serviced. So I think these things are at least 70s. Could they be earlier, 60s or 50s? I mean, they certainly have kind of like a you could say a 50s vibe. Is that just something that this company developed these cabinets in the 50s and kept selling them through the 70s? I don't know. I did find one other thing in this cabinet. What I thought was just like a random piece of metal is this. What is that? Half inch and one? It's like some kind of ruler, but I mean, is it like a depth gauge? Didn't really seem like it. I don't know. There's just this plate on it. It is a square tube. It is hollow. I just found it at the bottom. I thought it was just some scrap piece of metal, but I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing maybe there's more to it than what I'm seeing, but it's definitely a part of the barrier manufacturing company. I don't know what that is. If you got ideas, I'd love to hear them.